Hi, welcome to this week's devotional. If you're reading with us through our current reading plan going through the Bible in a couple of years, we're currently in the book of Esther. And Esther's an amazing book. It's fascinating. It's really interesting because it never mentions the word God or prayer or those kinds of things. There's discussions about fasting, but there's not a whole lot of direct view of who God is in the book. But as I've been reading it through, one of the things I'm finding really interesting is just the presence of God. It just kind of saturates the whole content of this book. At the beginning, we see that the king is having a huge party for all of his officials. He's showing off his power. He's trying to look amazing in front of all the other people. And he sends for his wife, Queen Vashti, to come and to present herself in her splendor and glory, wearing her royal crown. And she just says, no, there's no way. And I find it interesting that God uses a party at a palace and a marital dispute to clear the way for Esther. He allows her to come into royal position so that she can be there exactly at the moment when Haman comes to try and execute an act of genocide to destroy the Jewish people. And God sets up all of these things. He orchestrates this whole system and structure so that Esther can be exactly where she needs to be at exactly the right moment to fulfill the plan that God has for her. As her uncle Mordecai challenges her in chapter 4, he says, "Do you think that because you're of the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape? For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but you have come to royal position for such a time as this." That's kind of the famous line from the book of Esther, for such a time as this. The idea that God calls us into a particular place for a particular season to accomplish particular things. As I've been reading this book, I've been pondering the thought that God does this with each one of our lives. God orchestrates and structures the flow of where we should be, when and where and how to accomplish His good and His perfect will. And He invites us to partner with Him in the amazing things that He's doing. Again, for Esther, this required tremendous courage. It required her to step up and to be willing to risk her own life in order to protect the lives of other people. And God invites all of us to do the same. To look to our relationship with Him, to say, what's the role that God is calling me to play in the part that He has for me? Because in your life at this moment in time, God has orchestrated the circumstances that you would be born at this particular season, in this particular time, that you would know these people, you would work in this place, you'd go to school in this particular environment, that you would be where you are. God has orchestrated these things. And there's a particular part that He has for you to play. And so what is that part? Again, if you're not sure, you can ask Him, because God loves you passionately, and He has taken great care and orchestrated tremendous things to place you exactly where you are. There's a unique role that He has for you in the furtherance of His kingdom and working those things out. I also find a tremendous sense of peace in this, that God knows us and understands, and that even though people scheme and threaten and plot, and evil seeks to destroy and to damage things, that God is still sovereign and He's still in control, that He still knows what He's doing, and He's still raising up people in every generation to accomplish His good and His perfect will. And today I want to encourage you with two things. I want to challenge you to live in that peace, that deep sense of confidence that God sees you and knows you, that He's orchestrating the flow of your life and the course of your steps, and that you can trust Him to do what is good and right and best. And also, I want to encourage you to step into the role that He has for you. What's the part that He's giving to you in His redemptive work to see other people come to freedom and deliverance and hope and joy and peace? What's the part that He has for you to play in stopping the flow of evil and bringing the fullness of His kingdom to come in the world around you, in your family, in your workplace, in the unique circumstances that He's placed you, because God has placed you in this place at this time for a particular reason. May God bless and keep and strengthen and empower each one of us to fulfill all of His purposes for us.